All right, everybody, let me go ahead and share my screen. This one should be pretty straightforward. All right, so this article is a very short piece. It's talking about why gender equality stalled. And really the key central aspect of what I want you all to get out of this is the difference between economic reality and options. Okay, so really what this centrals really talks about is how gender equality really pushed for specific kinds of things like pay benefits of talking about hiring options, talking about less sexual harassment, these sorts of things when we really talk about gender equality in the workplace. But then when and even when we talk about care work at home, the problem here is that it didn't actually have viable options to take away women's work in the household, right? So we still needed that care work. We don't have the right kind of economic options. On top of that, we have led into a century where two-wage income households are almost mandatory. So that lack of options of really having choices has changed women's roles, but not necessarily given them more options, right? Okay, and especially when we emphasize male workplace or give that fatherhood premium, but not that motherhood premium, as we talked about in the last module, right? If we continue to do that, then what we set up is a situation where, of course, they're going to create a situation where mothers would end up having to do the care work and men are going to go get the jobs. Why? Because it's economically more feasible and likely the only option to have the man go get a job where he'd earn more, where he'd earn more than the woman were, even if they are equally qualified to make something. But if there consistently outweighs these economic limitations to what it is that women can get for their work, then it is more suitable to have the person who's going to economically make more income to the household do that. So it perpetuates a cycle here, right? And so it's really this inequality linked to the limitation of options, these limitations on economic stabilizing options. And what happens is that when your values don't add up to what it is that your options are, is that there's has to be this renegotiation of what your values are, and or there's this break, frustration, like discontentment with the option that you end up having to fulfill. Why? Because they don't match the core values of what it is you want, need, or expect out of the world. And so working family issues really have to be a human rights issue. And so really we're going to get into kind of this a little deeper because I'm going to go ahead and bring in one of the slides for one of the optionals, but I think it really gets us back on track. It's talking about back on track, the stall and rebound of gender equality. So really talking about how this is push and pull and push and pull. These arguments have continuously gone on and where we are and how we do better. And they used 4 measures from the General Social Survey, and they asked essentially, what does it show? The ebbs and flows within equality ideologies, but why? These 4 measures being that they discussed were sex, political orientation, sexual education, attainment level, and general rank based on birth year. So it's really showing that it's still really unclear what it is. Well, yes, there's a political affiliation situation that leans there, and yes, there's a difference of this. Really, systemically, we're showing these growth in ideologies of equality, and then this dip, but we're not really showing why they're happening, right? They're just not really getting into exactly what it is we're getting at here or why it's happening. And so really they looked at 3 trends. They asked they asked for 4 trends, but 3 of them were still updated in the 2018. They only went to 2012, which was before this was published. But I went ahead and looked up 3 of the 4 for 2018. And it was going back up that the people disagree that preschoolers suffer when mom's at work. The disagreeing that it continues to rise that men are more suited for politics is up to 80, that they disagree with that is now up to 84%. So that's a significant portion of the population saying that it disagrees that men are more suited for politics, yet we don't see political opportunities for women that happen in the same ways. And then we have disagree if a man works, that man's work is better done outside of the household. And that's really comes down to it's better that if a man works than a female works, and that's down to 45%. So really showing that these things are back into those patterns that we saw prior to this dip, but we're really still not getting at what it is that is causing this. What are the cultural ideologies and sources of learned behavior that are creating these ebbs and flows in ways that are stalling out gender inequality? And so sorry, I'm trying to wait for my screen to move to the next one. We'll see if that happens for me. Moving back. And so really, that's really what I wanted to touch on with this, but I did have fun going into the GSS and looking up those statistics and how they might have changed. But I'm going to go ahead and get off here now, and we will continue talking kind of about parenting and families in general as we talk next about transgender homelessness statistics and queer youth statistics, and how negative family interactions can impact those. So I will see you next time.